All right, welcome to another edition of Wonderful Wednesday. I've got a great panel with me today, and if you've ever watched our Wonderful Wednesday shows, we give you lots of great tips on things you can level up in your career, in your business, and things of that nature. And so I'm really excited about today's panel that we have with me today. So I want to welcome each one of them. First of all, just welcome you as a whole. Welcome to the show, everyone.
Good morning.
Hi, thank
Hi.
you for having us.
Good morning.
Yeah, glad
Good
to have
morning.
you. So we've got at the top left-hand corner, we have Mr. Phillip Davis, and he's from he's a fellow recruiter. He's a recruiter by trade here, but he does a lot of other stuff. And so, welcome to the show, Phillip.
No, thank you, Rollis, for having me, and it's great to be here. So,
Yes, and we're gonna dive into that stuff you're doing now. You're helping folks level up in their career with mock interview skills and something like that. I think you were telling me about. And then Vonti McRae, she helps with resumes, and she also is producing film and documentaries and all that kind of cool stuff too. So welcome to the show, Vonti.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here. Give somebody some tips on career.
Awesome. Yeah. And then I'm really excited, of course, always having Lila back on the show. Lila Smith, she helps you to say things better. She runs all kind of workshops on how to communicate better, communicate your ideas, your thoughts better, so that your ideas actually get across. And so, Lila, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I feel like I'm on the Brady Bunch. I'm like, here's the story of a lovely lady
I know, right?
who joined this guy.
You did that extremely
and
well.
Rollis on his show.
You did a very good job pointing. That was excellent the way you did that. Okay, so let's do this. Let's kind of start off. I like to start off. Give us some of our good tips here at the beginning, and then we may have to repeat them later. But hey, for right now, let's get it out there. So, if you were to give our folks who are looking to level up in their career, what's one of the first things they should think about doing? Let's start off with you, Lila. What do you think they should do first?
Take credit. Put your name on some things. I've been seeing a lot of people show up at my Talk About Yourself Better workshops lately, and they keep selling out. So I'm going to do it again at the end of September. I'll do another 2 because August got booked up. And one of the things that people come and say is that, well, I want to say, it was my team. I didn't do it alone. It was my team. I'm like, okay, but if somebody is, and Phillip, you can back me up on this, right? And if you're looking at a resume and you have the budget to hire one person or promote one person internally, are you gonna hire the whole team or promote the whole team? You can't. So you need to know that those people who are making those decisions are looking to you to tell them what they need to know about you. So put your name on some things. It doesn't mean that you have to say, I did all of this. Give credit to other people, but take some for yourself too. Say, here are some things I was really proud about, and seek feedback about those things so that you can do even better the next time. And asking for feedback at least lets people know that you did something.
I like that. That's very good advice. So she was calling on you, Phillip. She called you out. So you got anything you want to add to that?
yeah, no pressure. No, I'm just kidding. I definitely agree. I mean, I think a lot of times as humans, we tend to, and it's a good thing. We tend to really appreciate others for the work that they've done, which is very important in the workplace. But to piggyback off of Lila, I completely agree. Really on the resume, but not even just that, on other platforms, like LinkedIn or other portfolios that you may have, give yourself that credit that you've done in your career. Because I think a lot of what we tend to do is we like to talk about the things that we've done in our roles versus the accomplishments that we've achieved within our careers. And it's not so much to say like, hey, I did X at this company, which is fantastic, but a lot of those achievements should really be our achievements versus like, here's the stuff that I've done to better my career to be successful. Here's what I'm going to bring you, X company, Y company, Z company, that kind of stuff there. So I completely agree. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That was a really good distinction.
What's that?
That was a really good distinction between my contributions and our achievements.
Yeah,
because it's truly at the end of the day, it's truly about the stuff that you've done. And that's really more or less, you hear the question like, oh, tell me about yourself. Tell me about your background. Where I usually, as a recruiter, I like to be more of like, tell me your story. Like, what is your story? What makes you unique as a person? Because I think at the end of the day, we're hiring the individual, right? We're not hiring some machine that's going to be like, do this. Like, we're hiring the individual. And so we want to know a good recruiter. I think Rollis can piggyback it to Rollis. A good recruiter is going to be one who I feel really gets to understand the individual and their uniqueness and their value add that they've contributed and they've accomplished for themselves. So
yeah, absolutely. And I've seen so many times on LinkedIn, they'll say, well, I have 10 years of experience doing X, and it's not a differentiator. Just because you do something for a certain period of time doesn't mean you got really good at it. Even you could do something for 10 years and not even be good at it, right? If you keep doing the same thing over and over again. So I think it's good to talk about achievement. I think that's great. What did you actually achieve? Not what you did, but what did you achieve? I love that. Vonti, what would you like to add to that?
Well, I would love to expand on both of those points because I definitely support that, especially with the resume. I think people are doing video resumes and the paper resumes and all of that, which is really great. But I tell people, you also have to get a mindset of being a sales pitch person about yourself. People forget what they've done. Like Rollis mentioned, having 10 years of experience or whatever, but they forget all of the achievements that they've made. And it's many times where I'll tell people, they'll come to me and say, hey, do a rewrite of my resume, because unfortunately, they look like crap. Sadly, because they didn't know how to highlight themselves. There's definitely nothing wrong with that as well. And I tell them to look back over those 10 years that you've worked somewhere, or look back over that amount of time. What was the overall revenue of your department? What was the budget? How did you add to that? How did you increase or bring value? And the biggest things that I tell people, my main thing is, most companies are looking for you to support revenue and find solutions. I tell them those are the biggest 2 points that you should be able to talk about at any moment during even an interview. And that is what we're going to highlight on your resume. How much were you in charge of? What was flowing across your desk? Things of that nature. And also personality wise, I tell people, listen, when you're going in for this interview them as well. Will this be an environment that you actually will be comfortable in? Is the setup of the department or division something that you feel like you can fit into? And how do you make that translatable within your resume and also your interview? So as far as prepping a person, I would consider myself one of your biggest hype men, hype woman, really. Because that resume is your introduction to the recruiters, the hiring managers, and all of that. That coming across the desk and being very streamlined helps you get to that next level of an interview. Sometimes the people come back to me and they'll say, the hiring manager came back and said, that resume was excellent because of that, because it was a clear picture. They're looking at hundreds of them, sometimes in a day. And if it does not catch their eye or pop up in the system, then you're going to get left behind, unfortunately. And that includes an internal resume as well. So I definitely agree. You're not hiring the whole team. You have an open position for one person.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like what you mentioned too about some of the quantifiable things, revenue and so if you don't quantify things, it's difficult for them to see the scope of what you actually accomplish. Like, how big was that budget? How much money did you save? What amount of revenue did you help bring into the company? Now, I do see comments from our friend Robert Berry. He's in. Good to see you, Rob. He says, excellent advice. He appreciated your advice, Lila. And, of course, the rest of you, he appreciate yours as well. He said, my grandfather used to say, sometimes you have to toot your own horn a little. Loud enough to be heard, but not too loud to be annoying, and you have to share success. And he says, yeah, he says,
I like
Rollis,
that.
you can definitely do something wrong for 10 years. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff I've done. I can do stuff I'd not really be particularly good at it for a long period of time. And then one day I have an epiphany and I figure something out and I get better at it. Or some things I just don't ever get better at it because it's just not something I really work at. So, yeah, I think it's really good to
Rollis, you had talked to, you work with a lot of medical providers, right? Like if somebody needs to hire a hard to find purple squirrel RN who also this and that, and wears all of these hats. So if they're looking to find a different kind of role or transfer departments or something, or move across the country, how did they communicate their contribution? Because it's not in revenue, right? Or is it? I actually don't know.
Well, I mean, in terms, it depends on what kind of RN we're talking about, but I think one of the things that does resonate well would be HCAP scores, things that, but basically patient satisfaction scores, and does play into it as far as quantifiable things. If they have any level of involvement with that. Incorrect medications, making sure they have the right medications, how accurate they are with that. I mean, there's different things they can quantify.
There are accuracy scores and metrics people can track.
Yeah, they could do that, and how they were able to move the needle on that. If they're a manager, what's their retention like? There could be a number of different things that they could come up with. And those who are watching, if you're in that field, give us some ideas. What's some things that you think that we could use or a person should use to show their achievement? But yeah, normally I don't really see. That's something I don't really see on RN resumes, though. To tell you the truth, they don't really do that very often. Typically, what they'll do is show what department they worked in, and that's it. One of the things I do like as far as quantifying is if they put the amount of beds that was in the hospital that they were working in, the amount of maybe if let's say they work in an ER, roughly how busy is that ER? How many visits does that ER do a year? So it gives the employer an opportunity to see how busy of a facility that they worked in if they're not directly familiar with that facility, or what kind of cases do they work on, what type of modalities, what type of sicknesses and things. So yeah, that's a great point, Lila. I think whatever field we're in, right, just figuring out what are some of those quantifiable things that we can point to in the resume. Okay, I want to ask this before I ask this question. I want you to kind of think about this. Or have you answer it, is what are some common mistakes that you see that people make? And then I want to have each one of you kind of in your field of expertise, a mistake that you see is made quite often. But before you do that, I have a question for you. So who's ready to take this first? It's a would you rather question.
Bring it. I'm always for it. Bring it. I'm from Brooklyn too.
I'm in Brooklyn.
Yeah. Bring it.
Okay, here we go. Would you rather push something or pull that same thing? What's your go-to? You rather do the pushing or the pulling?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Very good.
So competitive. Oh, I would say pull.
Okay.
Because
why did you go with pull?
I love working with weights, weightlifting and everything. I'm very competitive. And not only that, I like pulling people across the line with me. That engagement of empowering people to go to the next step, they need that sometimes. And it is not a push from behind. Sometimes it's a pull and grab and let's go.
I like that. And guys in the comments, let me know, what do you think? Would you rather, what's your go-to? You usually like to push or pull something? So what's the common mistake that you see in a lot of cases, Vonti, on resumes? Give me one.
God. The biggest one is the whole references upon requesting. That is like, listen, you haven't even made it to the interview. We know you have references. They will ask for them if they're needed. That line at the bottom is taking up space from your accomplishments. So that is a major thing. And I do agree, Rollis, the whole 10 years of experience, but it's something I include if you're a seasoned professional. I wouldn't say, hey, if you're an administrative assistant with 6 months or a year of experience. But if you're 15, 20 years in, I would highlight that, but I would also put a summary of the experience that you have. Like you're a product manager, project manager, you ran a hospital. And one thing I did, we recently interviewed a doctor as well for the documentary that's called Fire Season. It's focused on, local people dealing with the fires and all of that and the frontline workers. He mentioned I have 30 years experience and I've met with 75,000 patients over my career. So something like that is like, okay, people need to know.
Yes, yeah, I like that.
So yeah, the reference.
Because he coupled the years.
References upon request needed.
Yeah, absolutely. He coupled the years with the amount of patients. See, if he just said the years, he could have seen 30 patients in 30 years. But you said 75,000.
Exactly. You're like, okay, hold on. This man might know what he's doing. He might know what he's doing.
So yeah, so at least we've seen a high. Hopefully, he was pretty good with those 75,000 people. But at least we know he did a lot of volume over the years. Yeah, I'm saying that.
No, he
tongue in
definitely was
cheek.
excellent.
Yeah, I'm saying that tongue in cheek. I'm sure he was. Okay, so we got several comments that have come in, and then I'm gonna go to my next person on this question here. But someone said, Tamika says this would be a great segment to take to LinkedIn if there was a live option offered. I'm trying to figure out what that means because we actually are live right now. So
yeah,
is that what she means, or
here.
We are live, Tamika. I don't know if you know.
Go follow Rollis. Follow Rollis on LinkedIn, and if you go to his profile, there at the very top of the screen, you'll see this show right there.
Yeah, but I mean, for her to say that, I'm trying to. Oh, she's on Facebook. Okay, she's on Facebook. That's why. So Tamika, come on over to LinkedIn.
Nice.
Come on over to LinkedIn, and you're going to see me. So thank you for that.
Another blue and white app.
There you go. See, I love the way. See, we all figured it out, and Lila helped us to figure this out because I didn't know what she was talking about, but now I see. She's coming from Facebook.
You're like, are we not live?
Yeah, I was like, hey, I thought we were live, but she's on Facebook. So come on over to LinkedIn if you want, Tamika. We're going to welcome you here, and thank you for watching from Facebook as well. All right, so Betty, she says for nurses, number of beds, specific duties that may be specialized, such as infusions, dialysis, etc. Very good, excellent. Lona says, what organizational goals did you help to meet? Yes, organizational goals. Yeah, I love that one. That's a very good one. And she said she'd rather pull. Betty said she'd rather pull too. And Tamika says many candidates have outstanding resumes but aren't able to articulate the value of their skill set in the interviewing process. So true. Betty says her common mistake is misspellings on the resume. Wow, there's so many comments. Okay, I'm going to take a break from the comments.
Really?
Keep them coming, huh?
That auto check, they don't do it. They do not do it.
Come on, really?
Yeah.
That is so basic.
I would say just have a buddy system. Just at least have somebody else look at it for you, Have them go through it. Okay.
Like Grammarly.
So Lila, would you like to do a new question or do you want to answer the last question?
I got to answer the last one because I was a puller my whole life. I spent a long time trying to pull people who weren't ready for action into what I thought they should be doing or what aligned with my goals. I mean, that includes like a decade-long personal relationship and marriage, where we were just not heading on the same path. I was like, come on over, this path is great. And he was like, but this one. And I'm like, no, come over here. You'll see. Right. And like, really, I am better utilized pushing people into a step like that requires bravery, and activating them and saying like, let's go. I'm behind you all the way.
Yes.
But you're the one who's going to take that step. I'm not pulling you into it. You have to take it yourself. So I spent a long time trying to pull. And so I just have a personal attachment to what that word means for me. But when Vonti was talking about it and saying like, we're going to like pull the line forward all together, I just love that visual. And it's just one of those things that made me feel like, oh, how cool that we have different contexts for the same word. Right. And I loved that. And I love knowing that there are people like Vonti, like willing to do the pulling and like our commenter. It just isn't going to be me anymore.
High
Okay,
five from
so
above.
you stop pulling. So that means you're a pusher now, or are you just pulling in a different way?
I'm an activator. So
Oh, I love that.
I'll light a match,
Okay. All right.
and stoke the flames. And it's going to get too hot with all this energy. You're going to want to take that step forward.
I like that. I'm
Let's
wondering
go.
what the
Next
office thinks
level.
about this activator thing. Yep, they seem to like it as well. So that's a good one. I
Phillip,
like that.
you have a lot of pressure.
Yeah,
Phillip, a lot of pressure.
So
Amazing answer.
before you go
no, because
into it,
both of your
Phillip,
answers were amazing. Oh my gosh, yeah.
before you go into it, I got another comment. So Tamika says LinkedIn doesn't offer live. Okay, so Tamika, we actually are live right now. So we're actually reading your comments live. We're definitely live. So feel free and come to LinkedIn if you want. Now, I will say this for those who
it's still a beta feature. Like she might not have access to it yet. So
maybe that's
I would say maybe
yeah.
Tamika needs to still apply for a LinkedIn show and live stream. There are some people who are still just getting it.
Yes.
Not everybody has it yet, but there is a
Okay.
link to apply. So we'll edit in the comments later, or someone can drop in a link if you already have it. You can even Google apply to be a LinkedIn live broadcaster, and that'll get you started right now.
Excellent. So Joanne, can you do that for us? Can you pop it in the comments? And so that she'll have that link. So I think maybe with Tamika, I thought she was talking about being able to see a live, but maybe what she's saying is to go live herself, which is what Lila's talking about, that you do have to apply for. It's not automatic like on a Facebook or a YouTube. So let us know if that's what you're thinking about, Tamika. Are you looking to go live? And if so, yeah, you're right. You can't just jump on LinkedIn and go live. That's true. It's a very good point. And even when you do go live, you can't actually go live direct to LinkedIn unless you have certain special software. Like I use Wirecast, so it's a whole different subject. But anyway, thank you for that, though. All right, Lona says focus on quality metrics. Good stuff. If you want to actually mention that or talk about that in your comment, Phillip, you can. But we're all wanting to know: do you rather push or pull, or do you want a new question?
Man, if I had to choose one,
Okay.
I probably would say push. I think just kind of similar to Lila, I like the idea of polling because I like the gym, I like upper body, and I like doing this movement, which is it's easy for me. But when it comes to like just thinking of the imagery behind pushing, I would say just really in my current situation, like helping, job seekers with, mock interviews and prep and things like that. I see kind of myself as, hey, I'm going to push you and challenge you and kind of be behind you in that support so that, if you fall or if you, if you make a mistake, I'm going to catch you and I'm going to, continue to keep pushing you forward to, that next interview or that next kind of resume tweak or whatnot. So I see it kind of more as like, and I'm naturally a hugger. I like to hug people. So I kind of see it like as that embrace, like I'm going to be behind you and I'm going to support you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
I'm not going anywhere, but I'm going to be that kind of net to help push you forward. Because at the end of the day, yes, I'm here to help you and to support. But at the end of the day, yes, you're the one in the interview. You're the one that's going to show, again, your achievements and show your uniqueness to that company or to that person you're speaking with, if you will. So I would probably say push.
That's interesting. And you also offered a third option because your other option would be to hug it out.
Hug it out, cry it out, and that's the thing. I mean, when we have, because we've all been through rejection, we've all been through, a company or two in our careers where we've interviewed and we've said, man, this is the job. This is the company I want to work for. And we just don't get it, right? We get that rejection or really that redirection. And a lot of people that, I've helped even recently, they haven't wanted to express the emotion. I'm like, let it out, cry with me on the phone, let it out, like feel what you're going through,
Mhm.
like in the moment, but know that you're going to find that next opportunity. It's going to happen. So don't hold the emotion in. And I think that's kind of where the pushing comes in, where it's like, I'm here to be that hugger, that, that guider. I'm going to like push you to keep going. But feel it out. And I think a lot of it, it's important to feel what you're going through, because it's going to challenge you to keep moving forward. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would love to add to that, Rollis. I don't know if we have enough time, but I loved his answer.
Okay, before you answer, we need to take our water break. We haven't done that yet.
Okay. He's thirsty.
Okay,
He wants the cocktail. I know.
Those who are in the comments, we talked about pushing, pulling, hugging it out, and now we're going to take a water break. That's refreshing.
Lemon.
Okay, now I'm ready for Vonti's piggyback on to Phillip's comment. Go for it.
That was like 2 sips. That's it. I wanted to go get an olive. You know what I mean? Martini.
An olive.
It was a martini. No, I'm just joking. This is all vodka. No, I'm joking. No, so I wanted to piggyback on that as well, because recently, sadly, I had like an English professor, right, that had been at a company for many years, and an internal position came open. Unfortunately, they didn't get it, but it wasn't the first time. And I had to bring him to a reality that, listen, if this company doesn't want to invest in your career development, there's nothing wrong with you saying we need to go somewhere else. And I think, Phillip, that was a great point that you mentioned, like, I'm going to hug it out with you and all of that. People need to realize when you're at the end of the road instead of keep pushing forward, I would say. Because if it's not, that investment is not happening, you still have your skill set that someone else might love. So instead of being stagnant and getting to that level of anger or whatever the case may be, and then you're bringing that into the workplace and you're that bitter employee sitting in the corner that no one likes to talk to anymore. Before you get to that level, understand you are the talent, which is why they say a talent recruiter, right? Your talent acquisition manager or whatever the case may be. You are the talent, so yes, you get to boohoo in the corner, but then let's move to the next level.
Yeah.
Let's get your resume out there and push forward. So I love what you said. Cry it out, and that happens internally sometimes, but don't feel that you are stuck.
What I want to know is, I want to give the folks. Everybody's been rejected at some point, right? At least everyone I've talked to. So let's do this. Let's take a moment and let's talk. Let's give our best tip. If you've just been rejected on a job, what's the best thing to do? How do you respond to that employer? Do you respond at all? What would you do, Lila? What would you suggest? You just got rejected. It's a job you really wanted. You interviewed for this thing, and they're like, "Thanks for playing, but we're pass. We hired somebody else."
So when I was leaving DNA Footwear, where I was director of e-commerce and communications for the company in New York City, in 2018, I had interviewed with Journelle, a lingerie company that I was obsessed with. And I have history in the lingerie industry. I spent years working at La Petite Coquette, a very high-end lingerie store in the East Village that was famous. I would do bra fittings for celebrities and give a very high-end VIP customer experience. Also, some other stores that I had worked at, like Private Drawers up in Oneonta. And I thought, oh, how perfect. I have rich experience in the industry. I know how to give the highest rated experience and be the top in sales in a retail environment with this product. And I have all of this e-commerce experience. So why wouldn't they hire me? Also, hello, like I am perfect for this role. And they didn't provide any feedback. I did ask for some feedback following the interview to be like, hey, I would love some feedback. And what I got was that that they don't do that. As a policy, they don't provide feedback. So I was like, well, thanks very much. I remain a customer, and a fan. And I look forward to seeing where you're going. I'll be following your website to see, what becomes of the customer experience and enjoying the experience as a customer. So just sending something gracious, when my first step, which was to get feedback, was thwarted. And meanwhile, like, I was an actress and was very used to like rejection every day, like hundreds of auditions that you don't get cast on. And it was kind of part of the culture that you never get feedback on those things unless you pay to go to a casting director's workshop and ask for it. So I wasn't like hurt by not getting the feedback, but that was my first step, was to try and get some. And then since I couldn't get any feedback, it was just to say something gracious. And then Phillip used a word earlier. I think you said redirection. And then Vonti, what you were saying about, it might be the end of this path. Like if they keep saying no to you, listen to that. And me hearing no about this job that I was perfect for, I kind of had to listen to God and say, all right, for me, this is what this was like, if that's not going to be the job that hires me to go and, be the best possible fit for what they needed, is it the best fit for me, or am I being redirected here? And I took some time then to do my UMAP and like do some self-reflection and figure out like, what is actually the reason?
Yes.
Not like who knew who at that company, but like, what is actually the reason for me in my path that this perfect opportunity didn't happen?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I like that.
I love the redirection part, because I actually pray for that. When I'm wrong in a situation, I'm looking for a job, whatever, I'm praying for that. Look, is this not the right place? Let me know. I'm looking up, right? So I definitely, I can resonate with what you just said, Lila. And even if you really want something, you really want it bad, and it just doesn't work out, being okay with, if you ask for redirection and you get it, be okay with it, and going to, because there may be something better, in the end for you. And I know for me, even if it was painful at the moment, but I'm glad it didn't work out. There was like a year plus period I was just getting nothing but rejections, and that was when I was working on my business, and I finally just got a little bit better with my business, and that's been like 12 years ago. So and I have on my business all this time, and got a great team, employees, and all that. So sometimes when you're getting rejected, it's you're better off. You're better off. What if you're like that? You ever seen that movie with Fun with Dick and Jane, and it has Jim Carrey on there, and he finally gets a job he's always wanted. He gets promoted up to the top suite with the C-suite guys, right? He finally gets promoted. And as soon as he gets promoted, the reason why he got promoted is they wanted him to take the fall. Because they were in some kind of had this big scandal or something with the money and stuff, and stole a bunch of money, and they wanted him. So they said, "Okay, you got the promotion. We're going to put you on the news." On the news, they put him on the news, and you guys got to see the movie. But anyway, he wanted.
No, I've seen it. It's hilarious.
Yeah, he wanted that thing so bad, and he got it, and it was like, oh, it went downhill from there. So sometimes you may want something that's not actually good for you.
Mm-hmm. That is so true. Rollis, you crack me up. But you are giving me hope about this, seriously. Because I just started my 2 businesses, and it's nice to meet someone that also is, showing success.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, I love Lila has been the best guest so far at looking at her other co-hosts.
I know.
She does a great job of doing that. Sometimes
look, I'm looking the wrong way. Can't do it.
Okay, so I
got
some comments here.
I was like, okay, if I do this, Vonti is here.
Yeah.
And if I, where do I move my hand? And then, like, if I do this, Phillip is here. And if I do this, it's Rollis. But you better not change the layout, because I don't know if I'm even using my left or right hand right now. I'm just so.
So Tamika had a nice little comment that I think Phillip probably wants to talk about. It says, many candidates have outstanding resumes but aren't able to articulate, and probably Lila too, articulate the value of their skill set in the interviewing process. So Phillip, take that, and then maybe if you, whatever points, I know you're going to have something to add, Lila, so you can add to whatever Phillip says. You always have good stuff.
Yeah, to kind of go into the creative spirit a little bit, and I'm very much like like a picturesque person, if you will. It's like the resume is there to, so think about I'm going to go back a step. So think about the resume like a book, like literally a book, right? And I tell this to folks all the time. So the cover of that book, if the cover of that book is pretty, it looks amazing to the eye, it's incredible, it's awesome, I'm going to want to open that book and maybe read like the summary of what that book's about. I may want to look at chapter 1 and start reading a couple, sentences literally. And if I like it, I'm going to want to scroll down a little more and kind of see what's going on. So with the resume, I always tell folks, like, think about it in that kind of aspect, like an actual book, and really paint the picture on your resume to get into those interviews and actually like share your story with examples. And so I think a lot of it is we talk about, quantifiable results and achievements and stuff earlier in the live. Have those, unique results to your career be appealing like that cover of the book, so that if we're a recruiter and we say, hey, I looked at this bullet on your resume, talk to me a little bit about that achievement that hopefully that they'll say that you did, and go into it. Have a story behind that achievement. And so when I work with clients and I work with folks, I try to like tell them, hey, if you're going to put a bullet on there, a result or an accomplishment that you did, not the company, have a story behind that, and examples of really strong examples where if they ask you, hey, I saw this bullet, or hey, can you tell me time when, those kind of questions, you know exactly what you want to say. Right. And that you're confident, I would say confident in that, in that story. So
I like
mine
that.
is the Seinfeld gift set.
A what?
My story is always in an interview, Seinfeld gift set. So I was working for a company and they revamped the gift set. And every interview, they're always like, so what's the most challenging thing you've ever done? And I always say the Seinfeld gift set, because it was being in charge of the manufacturing and distribution of it. So it was literally like revamping it, right? In supply chain, there's companies that could just come in and take inventory. Like you can segment it out, but with this company, it was at Sony, we couldn't allocate it to one retailer. All of a sudden, I spent 6 months building out this thing. It's like $1 million project to get it built out, right? For it to go into these retailers. All of a sudden, we're like, oh, okay, this major distributor wants it, right? Major retailer wants it. All of a sudden, here comes another retailer. They swipe all the inventory. And I am losing it. So all these executives are coming, they're like losing it. The sales reps, everyone. And I had to figure out the solution. So that was the major thing. I let them know, this is the solution. We're going to get inventory from Canada. We're going to rework it and send it over to Tennessee or whatever, get them to assemble it, and then we're going to send it out to those retailers. But at that moment, it was what you would call a S show. I won't curse because it might be little kids watching with their parents on, for the live. But that is the biggest thing, is like finding that solution and being able to be calm about it as a project manager. So I really support what you said, Phillip, is like having that talking point, so then in the interview, you're not,
you're
like spastic.
Yeah. And you just said it right there. I mean, and I really want to stress, like, you are the solution. Like it is going in, having a conversation and having the confidence in your stories and in your uniqueness and your achievements to say, hey, I am the solution to your problem. Because at the end of the day, if a job posting is active or not active, because there's the hidden job market, the company has a problem, right? That's all it is. An open job is a problem or a challenge that they're looking for that person to help solve. So it's going in there and singing with your heart out, I am the solution to your problem. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Lila, what you want to add to that? Go ahead.
Oh, I love that Phillip talked about stories and then Vonti provided one, right? So I mean, that's mostly what I would talk about is stories. In terms of what Phillip said about reading from the top down, this also applies to the bullet point itself. So front load in bold the results and then follow with the skills. So achieved thing by doing thing, and then ask me about. the Seinfeld gift set, ask me about, and then like title your stories. It makes it easy for them to ask for stories that you've rehearsed and for you to pull upon these stories. I would also say that as you're going through your resume and looking at those stories for yourself, try to find chapter headings for them for yourself so that under the category of logistics, under the category of digital transformation or change management, these are stories that represent what my contribution always is. So I'm a certified UMAP coach, and part of that is the Gallup Strengths Finder. So let's say you have context as one of your top 5 strengths, as Stephen Sullivan, who works with me at Say Things Better, does. He quickly but thoroughly achieves a full contextual understanding of all IT and technology stories, usages, purposes, and functions within a business. And then if you need to move into something new, he'll already know the right questions to ask for the sole and purpose of the business, which means that he has been able to avoid a lot of bad decisions by being thoroughly up to speed on like what hasn't worked, where we've already been, what we've already tried, and skip forward to what's going to work for the purposes we have now without sacrificing what's so rich and valuable about the way we've been doing things. So I would be leading with the category heading of, in applying my understanding of context to this, have a story. And you front load that bullet point with achieved this thing by using these skills, which includes my strength of contextual provision.
Love it.
Love that. Okay. So we are super behind on comments. I'm like so far behind right now. So let me see if I can catch up a little bit. Thank you for all your wonderful comments, guys. I'm going to see if I can go through some of these. Now, as I go through these, I want you guys to think about this question I have for you, okay? Would you rather have your feet replaced by wheels without brakes, or your hands replaced by hooks? Now, so think about that. And while you're thinking about that, I'm going to go through the comments. And those who are watching, if you want to chime in, please chime in. What would you rather do? Would you rather have your feet replaced by wheels without brakes, or your hands replaced by hooks? And even more important than that, if you have a question about leveling up in your career, of course, put that in the comments as well. Okay, so as I'm going through this, LinkedIn user, it doesn't say who it is. He or she says great information. Robert says, you thought you were alive, but it was Memorex. Geez, I just dated myself. Yes, you did, Rob. Memorex is dating yourself. That's funny.
That is
and
hilarious.
a little further down here.
I'm like, what's Memorex?
You're like, what's Memorex?
Hold on, let me Google that. Let me get Steve Sullivan.
Yeah, if you had cassette tapes, Memorex was anyway, Memorex did cassette tapes and videotapes, stuff like that. Anyway. All right, so Lona says, challenge people to take action. I think that was back when we were talking about pushing and pulling. I didn't get a chance to say what mine is. I would say pull. The reason why I would say pull is I want to partner with the person. I want them to see where I'm going. I want to give them a pull, and then I want them to also take part as well. I don't want to pull a dead body.
Yeah,
they got to be making some motion too. So that's my thing on that. Okay, Dr. Julie Olson, she says,
Rollis, I think that you have a lot more empathy and patience than I do.
Yeah,
really. I mean, you're more of a developer. You've got the long game and that long-term strategy, and you're able to really take people at their pace that's comfortable for them, but the little steps that you're giving them are big impact small steps. So it might feel to them like they're just barely being pulled, but really I feel like you're giving them so much richness in those small steps forward that you pull them into.
Oh, wow. Appreciate that. Wow. Thank you. Honored.
I got a great visual for that one.
Yeah, that was excellent. I love the way she did that. Okay. Dr. Olson says, thanks for the tip on LinkedIn. Just applied. Hey, look, so someone just applied. We talked about it. So you know what? Thank you, Tamika, for saying that. And because she said that, Lila mentioned about the application, and there you go. She applied. That's awesome. Betty H. She says, I would thank them for their time and ask them if they could share reasons why you were not chosen or tips to get better. I do agree with that. And for those of you who don't get answers, the reason why you don't get answers, a lot of these companies are scared of one of two things. One is an argument, or two is a lawsuit. Because they may have given feedback in the past. Oh, well, that's not true. Blah, 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 blah. And so it's a back and forth with this candidate. That's happened. Another thing that happens is they give an answer, and then because they gave that answer, now ensues a lawsuit later because they found some way to use that in court. And it may have been just. But I'm just saying those are the two things that sometimes companies are afraid of, so they avoid giving feedback. But I, as a recruiter, love giving feedback of some sort that's useful, because I feel like if they spent their time, which that's the only thing we can't get back, right? Once you spend time, it's gone. You can't earn time back. It's gone. So I would like to honor that time with some kind of response. So I do agree, but that's why companies don't want to do it. Nancy Ross
We
says,
do live in a litigious society, right? There are a lot of lawsuits.
Exactly.
And because the internet is an aggregator of data that can be interpreted through any lens and appear accurate. Let's say somebody got feedback, we didn't feel like your energy meshed with the team, would mesh with our team.
Right.
And then that same word energy is used in a lot of people's responses or feedback who happen to share the same age group. Now, There's an argument to be made that energy is code for ageism. And then there is a lawsuit. So that, first of all, it might be true, which might be worth looking into, but it's one of the things that companies are trying to avoid is the appearance of something. If it's not true, even if it is, it's more expensive to have a lawsuit than to provide training.
Yeah, absolutely. And then also culture, right? Because some cultures, they're more reserved in the way that they, portray themselves.
Right.
And so that may be perceived as a lack of energy or lack of excitement. And they may miss opportunities or not get jobs because of that. When really, at the end of the day, do they really need this level of excitement that you're looking for to do the job? I was just talking with some hiring managers just the other day, and they said, well, they made a comment about the way the person did a certain thing. I'm not even going to mention what that is. And I said, well, is it possible that person could have that characteristic and still do good at the job? I want to keep asking them that over and over again. So if they say something, okay, but I understand, I got that. But is it possible that they could still do really well at the job, though? And usually
that's a great question.
Yeah.
Is it possible? Really takes them out of the defensive and puts them into the possible. I think that's a great question. I just love that. I hope that you'll sniff that out.
Okay, good. Thank you. I appreciate that. Beatrice says, push or pull. I've been in both positions. I believe both have their advantages. I would do both. She went safe. Okay. I love that, Beatrice. I appreciate that. But I would like you to give us, what do you lean more towards? Which one do you do more often? Now, what do you guys think about this? Betty H says, I think it's a good idea for some people to enjoy Toastmasters, or I would say join one of Lila's workshops, or a similar type of organization to help with your speaking, presenting skills, because you are presenting yourself on an HR interview. And also Phillip has a nice mock interview program. So anyway, Lila, talk about that comment there, what you would say to that. And then if you want to add to that, Phillip, you can. And of course,
I think there are some really easy things that people can practice, like breathing techniques so that you don't trail off at the end of it. So that you're not saying 5 words and then inaudible, like that. So having a full breath before you speak is a good tip. So there are some simple practical exercises like that. You can just even YouTube speaking, elocution, projection. You can just start looking for exercises, vocal warm-up techniques, and not pay anything for that kind of stuff. But if you really want to be confident in speaking and have the energy to do that, do the prep with Phillip. Ask him, to prepare you on what those questions might be, because, in my background was in theater as well, and having rehearsal with somebody who can really get you ready to show up on stage and tell your best story your voice will automatically be stronger if what you're speaking about is rooted in real confidence, rooted in preparation and results that you're ready to speak to. So I would say do those things. And if you're looking to just have more of an engaged energy in general, try one of my Verb Your Values workshops, because it's a really easy way to monitor whether you're using your authentic voice or trying to present yourself as someone that's more dynamic than you are. But being more engaged in the moment from a place of who you really are is what Verb Your Values can do. And we can play that game later, Rollis, if you want to, with one line that we'll each say with a different intention.
I would love to. We only have less than 5 minutes left. But yeah, I would love to do one of those. But I want to mention something.
We'll do it in October.
Yes. You said something about stage. And I want to mention something, that the three of you have something to do with show business. Because so quickly, Lila, what's your part in show business? Really quick, what is it?
I'm retired as an actress, director, producer, and stage manager in Actors Equity Association. I was a performer in theater, musicals and Shakespeare mostly, but also with the Seeing Place Theater Company in New York City. For a decade, I performed professionally, and now what I do with all of that is I've applied all of my theater learnings to create the Say Things Better method of intentional communication. And that's it.
I love that. I love how you also very succinctly describe what you did. You took me down that path very quickly. People who are looking for a job, if you can do something like that, that's going to be very, very impactful on who could be hiring you. Okay, Vonti, give me your connection with stage, that sort of thing. It's not stage, it's more film, but go ahead.
So yes, I'm a writer and producer. Even right behind me is a script that I was working on with the TV pilot that I've written and stuff. I was also an associate professor over at the Academy of Art University, and I also hold an MFA in actual writing. So the passion is definitely that, and I'm still focused on that vision and continue to network in that industry. So I went from the side of working for companies like HBO and Sony now onto the creative side, and it's been a really great journey tapping into my network.
I love that, and you're using that skill to help folks with their resumes, which is great too.
Absolutely.
And Lila leveraged her skills that she learned from show business to what she does now with her workshop, which I've attended your workshops and they're amazing, Lila. So I do recommend those. So Phillip, tell me about your connection with show business.
Yeah, so I'm more on the music side. So I've done singing and piano and community theater ever since I was 5-6 years old. Went to college, got a BA in music performance and opera, classical music, and I do a lot of church singing on the side and things like that, and just kind of getting into the HR kind of recruiting space and really being able to marry kind of my business acumen skills into an entertainment company. So I started out in television back, in the very beginning stages of my career, and have just been in HR because it's I love people, obviously, and I love helping others. And I think with music and performing, a lot of the reasons why I love it so much is it's just to tell a story on the stage, whether it's acting or singing, and really conveying the audience and helping them to understand the emotions that we're acting or we're going through on stage. And a lot of that approach with being a musician and now going into a transition into career coaching and helping job seekers with mock interviewing, it's again the same thing. It's kind of like helping them with that rehearsal, like Lila said, or
I love it.
Or just going in there. So
I love that, guys.
What we all have in common is that intentional communication, and that's why it's a Say Things Better method of intentional communication. Like Vonti is not writing words without them having a purpose and a meaning, and I can guarantee you she has crossed out, burned, tossed, eliminated more words than she's written in her lifetime. Phillip, with music, we decide when we sing to be quiet, to be loud. Sometimes it's written, in the music, and sometimes it's about how we as the singer choose to express this character through our voice. What do we bring to it? And it's that unique spin that makes you distinguishable from another candidate, or another auditioner, and gets you chosen. So like, I think choosing the pieces and how to present them, how to express them is something that we each of the three of us have this full picture of that comes from our background in the arts.
Yeah. And so Vonti, her voice is accentuated through her pen and then whatever she does on film eventually, right? Whereas Lila and Phillip, I've literally heard your voices in song, and they're very good. You have great voices.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before we end, do you want to try? Do you want to do a note or two for us? Either one of you?
No.
Okay.
Amazing. Come on, opera. Come on.
Phillip, you want to try one for me?
I can just do like a little warm up or something. I'm gonna have to move the mic
quick because
though,
we're basically out of time. So go for it.
I'll
really
just do
quick.
like a siren or something. So yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
That
I've
is
got a
not
song
easy,
pinned to the
guys.
featured section of my LinkedIn profile. People can go listen to that.
Okay, yes.
I am not warmed up.
Where do we go on your LinkedIn profile? Say it again, Lila. I
In the
missed that.
featured section of my profile, you can scroll over and there's a cover of Angel by Sarah McLachlan there. Posted it for people who had been rejected by a lot of jobs that they've been applying for, or for internal promotions, or by people in their lives and were feeling disposable. And I probably sang it at a time when I was feeling disposable too. And that's something that I've always done, is when I have some kind of emotion that is not productive, but is true, I channel it into music. I use it for something that is positive, that is expressive, that's creative. And that's helped me to process.
I love that. So Joanne, can you pop that link for us in the comments if you don't mind? We have tons of comments that I don't have time to read, but I am going to read them. As soon as we go offline, I'm going to read them. Beatrice says, I love...
We're all going to be down there like scrolling.
Beatrice says, I would love to pull because I love teaching others, which I appreciate that. Thank you, Beatrice. That was excellent. Well, guys, you guys were great today, as always. Really appreciate you being on today, and I look forward to the next time. Will you guys come back if I invite you back? I will. In fact, I will invite you back. Will you come back?
Yeah,
Okay.
Absolutely.
Listen, we did not answer the wheels or whatever else was said, and I'm a demon. I am a driver. You get what I'm saying?
Right. Okay.
Definitely wheels on the feet with no brakes.
Okay, you're gonna do the wheels.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
Questions like this.
I totally
We need
forgot
more
about
questions like
I was like, how are you going to pick your nose?
that. I wouldn't even care. Oh, with a hook. Oh my
Am
God.
I going to wind the curls around my finger in the morning?
You just turned us into Candyman? What's up with that? Come on.
I forgot.
I'm
So,
on
so you're gonna go with the
anyway,
wheels.
like Vonti.
You're gonna go with feet replaced
I'm
by wheels. So Lila, real quick, what were you gonna do? You gonna do the hands replaced by hooks or the feet done by wheels?
No, I don't stop anyway. I'm like Vonti. We're both on wheels, full steam ahead, always anyway. So I think she and I are on our wheels. We're rolling. You can't stop us.
And Phillip, what about you?
I would definitely come back.
I'm with them both. Wheels for sure. Absolutely, because
Okay.
I'm very expressive with my hands, and I like having hooks. I don't think I could do it.
So we did pop your next workshop in there, Lila, on September 23rd.
Oh, thanks.
And then guys, if you're not following Vonti, Phillip, and Lila, go ahead and do that now. We got them in the little tagged in the little post there, so you can find them very easily if you're on LinkedIn. If you're watching on another platform, just hop over to LinkedIn and look up them by their name, and they should be able to come up. But anyway, thanks for you guys being on today. You guys were amazing. I just want to check, even if I didn't check with anybody in the cheap seats today to see what they thought of today's session. And we got great feedback there too. So that's great. You guys did a great job. Let's say bye, everyone. Bye.
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 Okay, hold on one second, and then Joanne's gonna let me know for sure when it's okay to end the stream. You guys did fantastic, man. Appreciate y'all.
This is so much fun.
Thanks.
No,
You know such good people. Good
What'd you say,
group.
Lila?
It's a good group. You know such good people. Everyone that you have is smart. I'm always learning things. I'm like, ooh, what did Vonti say? You knew that thing that Phillip said and that thing that you said.
Yeah, you guys are awesome too.
I'm glad that you were like, wait, I didn't answer the question yet myself. I'm so glad that you did that.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, Rollis, this was amazing. I really
yeah.
This is fun. You guys are amazing, and I love to see more creatives like not transitioning, but still being involved in the creative side and being able to translate that to an HR perspective, because I think it's so important. People clam up in these interviews, you know, they really don't know how to prep themselves. They're intimidated because of rejection. It's just like a long laundry list. And I feel like empowering those people to even have the courage to try and move to the next career, because we're in a different time now, if you really think of it, right? Before it was like become a seasoned professional, stay somewhere for 30 years, right? But companies are not investing in people like they used to. Pension is non-existent. 401k is like,